Was geht, meine lieben Freunde, euer Nudi hier und herzlich willkommen zurück zu einem neuen Video. Heute sind wir in der 9. Folge von Steins G0 angelangt. Letztes Mal haben wir fucking Curis wiedergesehen. Und, Freunde, bin so gespannt, Alter, wie es weitergeht. Und ich habe einfach richtig Bock, Freunde. Schreibt gerne in die Kommentare, ob ihr auch so viel Bock habt wie ich oder einfach so denkt so, ja, Schneegeschnack, aber ich würde ehrlich sagen, wir gehen direkt rein. Let's fucking go! Police Marketer was looking down at something.
バカな。
Police couldn't be here. Because she was dead. Was I seeing things? Was my desire to see her making me hallucinate? But it seemed far too realistic to be an hallucination. Still, it felt that if I spoke a word, she'd disappear. I couldn't say a thing. What was she staring at, without even moving a muscle? She was so still that I thought she must be a hallucination after all, but then... She finally exhaled a little and slowly turned around. My throat was dry, and I couldn't speak as so ein krasser Voice-Actor.
来てたなら来てたって言いなさいよ。黙って立ってたらびっくりするじゃない。明けましておめでとう。それにしても珍しいわね。あんたがここに顔出すなんて。岡部？
クリス。クリス。なんだな。
新年早々何言ってるのよ。大丈夫？何か悪いものでも食べた？
Even a slightly peeved expression.
クリス。
何？
And the gentle flash you sometimes saw in her eyes. And this...
どうしたのよ。本当に大丈夫な。
Even her warmth.
あんた急に何を。
It wasn't a hallucination. Or an artificial intelligence on a screen. It was the real Curis Maxe.
岡部？
The real live Maxe Curis. Junge, der Voice Actor. Holy shit.
お願い話して。
Alter ist Digga.
すまない。でももう少しだけこのまま。
あんたもしかして泣いてるの？
I realized for the first time that my cheeks were wet. I felt her soft hands on my back.
心配しないで。もう平気だから。
クリス。
大丈夫よ。大丈夫だから。
She whispered to me in a soft voice and patted me on the back, and wrapped her arms around me, like a kind mother holding a child.
すまなかった。
I finally calmed myself down. She was still there. She still existed. Now that I'd calmed down, I realized what that meant.
気にしないで。無理もないわよ。私だって時々あるもの。そういうこと。
そういうこと？
思い出したんでしょ？まゆりのこと。
That's right. That's right. Coris was here, which meant this was the Alpha World Line. The world line without Mayuri. The world where Mayuri died. Some small part of me had wished that this was the world beyond Steins Gate. That it was a new future which someone else had opened for me. But of course, that was too good to be true. There was no way for me to know what had happened. But I must have made my choice. To give up on Mayuri. There was the future where she was gone. Und wird übel. Confronted once more with the reality of Mayuri's death, my heart felt like it was about to burst.
まゆり。
How had she died? Junge, das Herzklopfen.
岡部？
Oh, flashbacks, Digga. Did they push her in front of a train? Did they shoot her? Junge. Or
落ち着いて。
Coris's tiny hand wrapped around mine.
ほら、深く息を吐いて。
Little by little, my racing heart began to calm down.
ごめん、私が余計なこと言っちゃったから。
いや、そうじゃないんだ。そうじゃ。
薬飲む？水持ってくる。
I rummaged through my pocket and found a small box of pills. It was the same anxiety medication that I'd already been taking. Even in this world, I was still on the same drugs. Drug addict. I looked around the room where Coris got me some water from the tap.
ねえ岡部、どうしてここに来たの？
え？
ここにはずっと寄りつかなかったでしょ？橋田も来なくなったし。
誰も。
ええ。
The room was awfully clean then. I took a closer look and saw that there were a few places like Daro's PC that were covered in dust, but the rest seemed to have been regularly cleaned.
お前はクリスは来ていたのか？
時々ね。じゃないと寂しいだろうと思って。
I didn't have to ask who they were. Mayuri loved this place. She loved the future gadget lab. She loved the time she spent with all the lab members here.
ごめんね。
どうして謝る？
だって。
I waited, but no answer ever came. What was she apologizing for? For talking about Mayuri? For making me remember? Or for making me choose?
クリス。
何？
いや、なんでもない。
If I said something, she'd answer me right away. I could reach out and touch her. That alone brought me to the verge of tears. If I just stayed here like this, what was I thinking? I'd given up on everything and left her to die. And still, I was happy to be back here in this worldland with Coris. As I was sad over losing Mari, part of me was thinking I wanted to stay here. Even though I didn't have the right. If there was a god in this world, he must be a cruel, twisted being. Why was he doing this to me again? Was what I'd done that wrong? I'd already made my choice once. There was no way to save the world. There was no way to save Coris. But with Coris in front of me, I was already starting to waver. Should I go back to the beta world line? Should I send the D-mail? The D-mail?
そういえば、電話レンジカッコ仮はどうした？
どうって、あんたが破棄させたんでしょ？忘れたの？
ああ、そうだったな。
The phone wave no longer existed, it seemed. Of course it didn't. Its mere existence had made us a target of CERN, but without it, I couldn't leave this world line on my own. So even if I did stay here in this world line, it wouldn't be my responsibility. It wasn't my fault, and it wasn't something I'd wanted. Which meant...
ねえ、岡部。悪いんだけど、何か飲むもの買ってきてくれない？
飲むもの？
ちょっと喉乾いちゃったのよね。できれば温かいものがいいわ。
インスタントのコーヒーぐらいなら作るぞ。
Wasn't that what Chris had always made me do? 2 cubes of sugar, no milk.
コーヒー切らしちゃってるのよ。
わかった。
Yeah, I should go. I want to get outside and think things through.
ミルクと砂糖の入った甘いやつね。
ミルクは入れないんじゃなかったのか。
寒い日には思いっきり甘ったるいものが飲みたくなる。
了解だ。
I stood up and headed for the door, but turned around halfway.
何？
いや。
It felt like if I took my eyes off her, she'd disappear. But that was far too embarrassing to say.
岡部。しっかりね。
子供じゃないんだ。お使いぐらいできる。
そうね。いってらっしゃい。
My whole body relaxed the second I stepped outside of the lab. Evidently, meeting the living Coris had made me really tense. I didn't know how to talk to her or what to say anymore. Even though I'd spoken to Coris, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Ich möchte kurz sagen, Freunde, also das wisst ihr, denke ich mal, aber immer wenn so eckige Klammer ist um Coris, dann ist damit Amadeus gemeint. Coris, Amadeus, Coris. Aber ja, wollte ich nochmal erwähnt haben. Falls ich es vergessen hatte, Freunde. I still couldn't believe it though. Digga, ist so interessant hier, Digga, wie geil. Was this really the Alpha Word line? No. If Coris was here, It had to be. But then why? Who had caused the world line change and how? Stimmt, hier sogar Hilfe, OKW. Also Amadeus wurde dafür benutzt, I guess. So ihre Wissen, Kuris Wissen. Das Call from Kuris. Was that what triggered it, somehow? No. I should stop thinking about it. If someone else had caused it somehow, I shouldn't get involved anymore. I didn't want to. I didn't want to overthrow the structure of the world anymore. I just wanted to live in peace. In a universe with no world lines or attractor fields. I'd stopped letting the whims of fate rule my life. There was nothing left that I could do. Suddenly something seemed very wrong. Kuris's words a moment ago, what had they meant?
岡部、しっかりね。
She couldn't mean to. I turned around and rushed back into the lab.
クリス。クリス、お前それ。
参ったわね。見つかっちゃったか。
She was just where I'd seen her the first time, standing and looking toward the back of the development room. In the depths of the darkness, in a spot that just a moment ago had been covered by a cloth, I saw an old microwave with its door taken off. The phone wave, name subject to change. Future gadget, #8. It was the gadget that had changed my fate. No, the fate of the world.
どうして？それは破棄したんじゃなかったのか？
ええ、破棄したわ。これは私が新しく作り直したの。言ってみれば電話レンジ解ね。正しくはカッコ仮がつくんだな。それなら電話レンジカッコ仮解になる。
名前なんてどうだっていい。作り直したって。どうしてそんなことを？
過去にメールを送るためよ。メールを送って世界線を変えるの。うん。あんたにとっては戻すって言った方がいいのかもね。世界線を。これ完成したのはね、実は1ヶ月以上前なの。それからはひたすらここに立って送るべきか送らないでおくべきか悩み続けてた。それがまさかあんたの方から来るなんてね。
お前何を？
What are you?
あんたついさっき別の世界線から来たでしょ。
Das vermerkt.
ベータ世界線から違う？
気づいてたのか？
そうでなきゃあんたがあんなことするはずないもの。
あんなこと？
だからあんな風に私を抱きしめたりとかそういうことよ。
It was all so wonderful. The way her cheeks reddened in embarrassment as she looked away. The way she pursed her lips. The way she fiddled with the ends of her hair. Everything was just so wonderful. I realized it again. I was in love with her.
さらに言えばその世界線の変動は
Boah, Digga.
誰か別の人の手によるものであんたが好き好んで変動させたわけじゃない。
Gold OST, Digga.
当たってる？
Absolutely golded.
すべてを見通しというわけか。
れだけあんたのこと見てきたと思ってるのよ。いや、違うからな。見てきたって別にそういう意味じゃなくて、いや、違わなくもないけど。とにかく。
She took a deep breath and looked up at me again.
あんたがベータ世界線から来たってことは、あんたは過去に一度その世界を選択したってことでしょ。
Ich wollte kurz euch sagen, Freunde, ein kleines, aber feines Detail, so bei Chris Charakterdesign, glaube ich, ist es so. Auch die Krawatte ist so ultra rot, so richtig so blutrot, wie als er Chris findet, in der Blutlache in Steins DIESE Classic. Und es ist so ein kleines Detail, was mir gerade immer wieder aufgefallen ist. Und ja, das ist ziemlich interesting. She was so far beyond what I could hope to be. In those brief moments, she discovered all that. She was right about everything. But, even so, I couldn't let her know. Admitting that would mean admitting that I'd left her to die. There was no way I could do that.
すまない。
In the end, that was all I said. But that was an admission all the same. But instead of looking sad, she...
謝るなバカ。あんたが自分で決めたことでしょうが。だったら自分の選択に自信を持ちなさい。
She tried to cheer me up. That's right. Chris was right. I was the one who chosen the better world line. But
それにね、あんたは多分間違ってなかった。さっき来たばっかりのあんたは知らないだろうけど、この半年間、あんたはずっと自分を責めてた。そんな素振り、私には決して見せようとしなかったけど。
it was the same. It was the same as what I'd gone through. It was the same as the beta world line.
でも、どうしてあげることもできなかった。だって、あんたの苦しみは私のせいだから。私を生かすために、あんたは苦しんでたんだから。でもね、それも今日で終わり。終わりにしなきゃいけないのよ。だって、このままじゃ、あんたはずっと罪の意識に苛まれて、最後には押しつぶされちゃ
同じだ。
Chris ist so geil, Charakter.
う。どういうこと？
どっちにしても結局俺はずっと後悔するんだ。マイリーを救えなかったこと、お前を救えなかったこと、アルファ世界線にいてもベータ世界線にいてもそれは変わらない。
So maybe I should just stay here.
しっかりしなさい、岡部倫太郎。
クリス、
なんて顔してるのよ。あんたらしくない。私の好きな法王院京馬さんはもっと自信に満ちた顔してなきゃ。
Hohen Kyoma, huh? That was a name I hadn't heard in a long time.
あんたは正しい道を選択したの。マユリを助けるっていう選択を。それは決して間違ってない。
でも俺はお前を。
いい？今あんたがここにいるのは、そうね、夢を見ているだけよ。
夢？
そう、夢の中であんたは私に会った。ただそれだけのこと。どう？そう思えば少しは気も楽でしょ。
Chris sighed a little and laughed.
これだけ脳の研究が進んでいるのに、夢を見るメカニズムって実はまだ明確にはなっていないのよね。 眠っている間に脳内では記憶の整理が行われている。その過程で発生するのが夢だっていう説もあるけど。
Okay.
要するに
Interessant.
ここはベータ世界線のあんたが迷い込んだ夢の中の世界。あんたの頭の中を整理するためにね。そしてこれが夢ならいつかは目を覚まさなきゃならない。そうでしょ。
でもこれは夢なんかじゃない。現にこうして。
I reached out and touched her cheek.
現にこうしてお前はここにいるじゃないか。
感触だって脳が感じさせている機能の一つよ。
She took a quick step back. The sensation of her cheek disappeared from my fingers.
だいたいここにいてもあんたは幸せにはなれない。ずっと後悔の念を拭うことはできないの。
Er hat doch selber gesagt, das ist the same.
それは私も同じ。
ベータ世界線でも変わらない。
Ja.
俺はずっとお前を助けられなかったことを悔やみながら生きてきた。
だけど少なくともまゆりは幸せでいられるでしょ。
まゆりは
She doesn't know anything. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted her to know nothing and be happy. For now, that wish was still coming true, but
あんたはまゆりに笑っててほしい。そう願ってる。私も同じなの。ということはやっぱりあんたの選択は間違ってはな
Steins
か
wird so
った。
geil, Digga. I'd finally met her again, but she was here, alive, right in front of me. But
もう
she walked up to me without even trying to hide her frustration.
いい加減にしなさい、岡部凛太郎。一度出した結論でしょうが、あんたはここにいちゃいけないの。帰らなきゃいけない。夢から覚めなきゃいけないのよ。だってもうそうやって苦しむあんたを見ていたくないから。さあ、これ以上は時間の無駄よ。私はやるから。
She turned away from me. I could feel the strength of her will, her resolve. I remembered what I'd seen just after I'd come to this worldline. Grease had been standing just standing there in front of the phone with. Thinking back, she'd probably already made her decision. Without anyone knowing, without anyone to say goodbye to. She'd chosen to go to a world where she would no longer exist. It had probably taken her a long time and a lot of struggle to come to that decision. She'd probably asked herself 1,000 times if it was really the right answer. If this was what she'd chosen after all, I didn't have the right to stop her. It would be wrong.
ねえ岡部、夢から覚める前に一つ約束して。
約束？
ベータ世界線に行ったら私のことは忘れなさい。
That was just the opposite of what she'd said that day. That day, the day when I'd chosen the Beta Worldline, she'd said to me, "Don't forget me." But now she was asking for the opposite.
忘れるなんてそんなことできるわけないだろう。
She was always like that. She always cared more about others than herself. She always sacrificed herself. She was asking me this for my sake only. She didn't want to be forgotten. She hated being forgotten more than anyone else could.
言ったでしょ、これは夢よ。夢は普通 起きたら忘れるもんでしょ。
She was stubborn and bullheaded. I would never be able to forget her. But
子供の頃に見た悪夢は今でも覚えてるぞ。
誰が悪夢な、誰が。
it was all I could do to keep from breaking down. But that was probably the same for her.
とにかく私のことは忘れること。今日あったこともこれまであったことも、それが私の望みだから。
She turned around, stuck out her pinky finger, and forced it around mine.
指切り玄満、嘘ついたら海馬に電極ぶっ刺す。指切った。
Electrode into your hippocampus,
心
Alter.
が悪いな。
ほっとけ。
Her hand moved away from mine. Her gaze looked away from me. It was almost time to say goodbye. She was sending a message to the past. I knew it was the right thing to do. I knew this was what she wanted. But still,
クリス、
our voices overlapped.
どうした？
あんたこそ何？
なんでもない。ただ呼んでみただけだ。
Oh, the name of the person I cared for.
偶然ね。私も同じ。
The name of the person I loved.
ねえ、あんたは覚えてる？私と初めて会った時のこと。
忘れられるわけがない。何しろ強烈だったからな。
それを言うならあんたの方こそ。あんた、あの時はまさかこんな風になるなんて思ってもみなかったわ。まさかあんな出会いでこんなにも。
Would lead to meeting someone so important to me. Not that I'd say it now.
まったくだな。
I couldn't say it, but
でも言っとくけど、私たちの出会いも覚えてていいのは今のうちだからな。
even for a little,
世界線が戻ったら忘れなきゃいけないんだからな。
even just for a second,
わかってるよ。
just for an instant.
そんなに簡単に忘れられるんだ。
If it would last just a little longer.
お前が言い出したことだろ。
Her voice,
そうだけど、そんな風にあっさり言われちゃうと、それはそれでムカつく。
the way she moved,
忘れろと言ったり、忘れるなと言ったり、一体どっちなんだ？
her smile,
冗談。嘘よ。嘘。
なんだ？嘘なのか？
そう。
oh,
嘘。
just a little longer, so that I could remember it all. But I was out of time.
岡部。
うん。
それじゃあ。
Those words were the sign that the magic was over.
あ、
There were a million things I wanted to say, but I stopped myself. Corey smiled, satisfied, and turned back toward the phone wave. She probably already had the message ready. The phone wave started to boom and crackle like thunder. There was a long, long countdown. The whole time, Carice faced away from me, and I just watched. The noise got louder. The countdown continued. And then it was time.
岡部、いい目覚めよ。
Curice turned around with a big smile on her face. Her voice was cut off by the roar. Boah, Wordline change. 1,0533649. Das ist wieder Beta-Wörter. And then I woke up from my short dream. Color gradually returned to my blacked out vision. The lab started to come back into focus. I could tell immediately that the word line had changed. I could still see Carice when I closed my eyes. But she wasn't in the development room anymore. It was like the whole thing had been a daydream. I felt like I'd been caught in the boundary between dreaming and wakefulness. Digga. I was back to a world without Carice. This wasn't the Alpha wordline. There was no point in even bothering to check. A moment ago, only Carice and I had been in this room, and now everyone was here.
おかり、どうしたの？具合悪い？
いや、大丈夫だ。
Mari,
お薬飲みますか？
平気だよ。心配ない。
Yukiko, and
本当に？無理しちゃダメだよ。
Kagari Shina. If Mari and Kagari were here, that meant I was back to the beta wordline.
ちょっと腹が減っただけだ。朝から何も食べてなくてな。
もうオカリンさんたらダメだよ。ちゃんとご飯は食べなきゃ。ダルおじさんみたいに大きくなれないよ。
ああ、なるくらいなら一食抜いた方がマシだよ。
Digga. Huh?
だったらマユシーが何か作ってあげるよ。
Hey, warte mal. Moment. Hold up. Warum hat Kagari ihn gerade Onkel Ding genannt? Deswegen hat auch Okabe, glaube ich, so Haar gemacht. Sie hat die Erinnerung back? Was? Was?
ママが
Hä?
作れるの？
Sie hat die Erinnerung back?
もうかがりちゃんまでそういうこと言うんだから。
Was?
これでもね、最近はユキさんにお料理教えてもらってるんだよ。
Was? Warte mal.
じゃあ僕が手伝うから。
Was? Stopp. Yukis bin... Digga, boah.
待ってくれ。
Kagari die Erinnerung.
すみません。僕手伝わない方がいいですか？
いや、そうじゃない。
Digga.
そうじゃないんだ。
Was? I looked around at everyone and then back at Kagari. Warte, was? Was?
やだなあ、オカリンさん。私のことはかがりでいいって言ってるのに。
Hä? Bruder. Something was different.
じゃあ、かがり。
Sie hat Erinnerung, oder?
さっき、
Ja?
まゆりのことをなんて呼んでたか聞いてもいいか？
なんてって、ママだよ。
Warum sagst du es? Bruder.
どうして？
どうしても何もママはママだもん。ね、ママ。えへへ、やっぱりそう呼ばれるのちょっと照れちゃうな。
Halt vaguely dizzy watching Mari fidget in embarrassment. Digga, auch wie Mari sich benimmt so. Als ob sie es einfach so akzeptiert aus und so. What the fuck?
未来の世界で親子だってことを。
Hä?
かがりちゃんのことはオカリンが教えてくれたんだよ。
俺が？
本当のことを知っておいた方がいいってね
Was? Hat KG eine Erinnerung noch? Oder did I really tell them? Nein. Did I tell them something so important? Das hat der andere Okabe gemacht, der hier währenddessen war. Oder das ist es eine andere Wordline, als er davor war. Oder?
ごめんなさい。僕聞くつもりはなかったんですけど耳に入ってしまって。
Lukaku lowered his head in apology.
でも大丈夫です。他の人には言ってませんし、それに僕ちょっとだけ嬉しかったんです。皆さんと秘密を共有できて、本当は直接教えてもらえればよかったんですけど。
Digga, hä? Hä? Even Lukaku knew about Mayuri and Kagari. Was geht hier? Which meant that, of course.
でも驚きました。タイムマシンとか未来とかお話の世界のものだって思ってたんですけど、実現できるなんて。
What the fuck? He knew about the time machine. Evidently, I hadn't simply come straight back from the Alpha wordline. I was in a wordline slightly different from the one I'd been in before. The divergence meter I'd used before was gone now. That meant I didn't have a precise number, but this all left very different. The problem was finding out what was the same as the old wordline and what was different. Ja, was ist anders? Von Mr. Braun hatte das doch. Dieses Divergence Meter, oder? Oder nee, von Suzua. Ja, wo ist Suzua?
何？
Oder? Wo ist Daru? I showered Kagari with questions and an effort to find out what was going on. Here's what I learned. First, Kagari retained her memories of her childhood. Did alle memories, krass. In other words, of the year 2036. 2036. She knew Mayuri, Daru, Suzua, and also Ferris and Lukaku. But as for what the world of 2036 was like, and how she'd become Mayuri's daughter, she hadn't taught them the details about that. Fortunately, they hadn't seemed interested in knowing about their futures. Everyone always thinks they'd want to know what their future holds. But when the chance finally comes, fear outweighs your curiosity. The future wasn't always a happy thing. Knowing the future might destroy your dreams. It might be a death sentence, like it was for me. Some people would lose all sense of meaning in their lives if they knew there was inevitably going to be a war in which 5 billion people died. Das muss man auch mal kurz überlegen. Also, oder?
ここに来たのはルカ子の家に居候したのがきっかけで間違いないな。
Also ganz kurz, warte mal. Ich muss auch mal überlegen, jederzeit muss Goku sich im Kopf haben, wenn er nichts unternimmt, 5 Millionen Leute sterben. Also scheiß drauf, ne? Aber nein. Aber auch das so und jeden Alltag, jeden Tag, wo er nichts unternimmt, hat auch nochmal so die Schuld daran, sagen wir mal, dass er nichts unternimmt, obwohl er vielleicht etwas unternehmen könnte.
っていうか、オカリンさんがママと引き合わせてくれたんだよ。覚えてないの？
Digga.
いや、そういうわけじゃないんだが、一応確かめておこうと思ってな。
一応ね。変なオカリンさん。
Kagari going missing had happened almost exactly as I remembered it. The same was true of how she came to us. And
行方不明になっていた間はどこで何をしていたのか全然覚えていないのか。
うん、綺麗さっぱり。気づいたらお寺で寝かされてた。
okay. She was still missing some of her memories too. In other words, in this wordline, the only memories she had were of her childhood and of the last few weeks since she'd woken up from in the Chiba Mountains. The most important part was still missing. Digga, ich bin gerade so locked in, Freunde. What the fuck, wie geil. Was there anything else I needed to ask? Ja, wo ist... I was staring at the floor and trying to think when I realized that something was missing. Wo ist fucking, Tsuda und Daru?
床が
Floor?
綺麗だ。
Ist clean. The floor is clean? Was? Warte mal, was soll das heißen? Bin ich dumm?
さっき岡部さんが来る前に掃除しておきました。
Aber warum reagiert er darauf
い
so?
や、そうじゃなくて、床に小さな穴が開いてたはずなんだが。
Ah!
床に穴ですか？
Das war von der Mikrowelle, oder? Ah nee, oh mein Gott, stimmt, die wurden attackiert. The lab had been attacked just last night. Also kam die Attacke gar nicht. Ah. Okay. Dieses Loch, ein Warnschuss auf dem Boden war das. During the attack, one of the bullets had left a dark hole in the floor.
穴なんて開いてたかな？なかったと思うけど。
ちなみに、お前たち昨日は、どうだった？
昨日のパーティーのこと？
Ach, die Party war normal.
すごく楽しかったよ。
Die war eine normale Party, wurde nicht
あんな
unterbrochen,
に楽し
wurde
か
nicht
ったの
angegriffen.
私初めてだった。
Und Kageri weiß es. Ach, die Erinnerung wieder. They wouldn't say that if there had been an attack. Wann hat er Kageri ihre Erinnerung zu bekommen dann aber? Which meant that the attack had never taken place. Was no one after Kageri in this world? Weil sie ihre Erinnerung zurück hat? Ist deswegen niemand hinter ihr her? No, it was too early to assume. Vielleicht ist es einen Tag verschoben wie bei Marys Tod. Dass einen Tag später die angegriffen werden. I still didn't know what had happened when she'd gone missing. Digga, Junge! Until I did, I couldn't say for sure if she was safe. Just like how sometimes Mary's death would occur on a different days in the Otherworld land. The same thing might happen a few days later. Wie ich gesagt habe, ja, Freunde. In fact, it would be better to be cautious.
またみんなでパーティーしたいね。
Ich will wissen, wo Suzuha und Daru ist.
僕も何か作るよ。私も手伝う。
Weil Suzuha will doch sie auch ausfangen und alles. They all started happily talking about last night's party. At first glance, it was all a peaceful scene. But something sinister might be happening, and I just didn't know it. No, I knew something had to be happening. The fact that the world line was changing was proof. Why had it changed anyway? Yeah, Amadeus! I thought back to the events of the night. Amadeus! First someone had taken over Amadeus. Curis had called me and asked for help. The word line had changed right after it answered, which meant that the key was Amadeus. Did the Amadeus have something to do with the word line change? Like Amadeus aus dem Boden. And what about the group who attacked Kageri? Was it all connected? Maybe I needed to find out.
ところで、かがりちゃん、時間大丈夫？
Okay, Freunde, an der Stelle beenden wir dieses Let's Play. Ultra geil. Sehr interessant für andere Wörter. Sie hat die Erinnerungen und alles. Ist Amadeus in dieser Wörter existiert es? Mao, alles? Bin sehr gespannt. Wo ist auch gehackt, nicht gehackt? Ne, wo nicht gehackt eigentlich, weil sonst werden die Attacker angegriffen. Egal. Nächstes Mal sehen wir das da alles, Freunde, so kleine Theorien. Ihr könnt gerne in die Kommentare schreiben, was ihr denkt. Ey, wie geil ist Planet? Lasst gerne ein Abo da. Checkt andere Parts, Videos aus Playlists, Streams ab. Und ja, Freunde, damit würde ich sagen, wieder schauen und reingehauen. Bye, bye.